Okay, welcome back to this tutorial, and let's continue from where we stopped. Thank you. So I've connected the lines to the hips, and the next thing, please don't forget to blend your lines. Don't allow it to have sharp edges. Make sure you blended yours. And I've marked out the nipple to nipple measurement. Please, to get your nipple to nipple measurement, divide your bust by 4, then minus 1.5 inches. Then that will be your nipple to nipple measurement. It works for everybody. It's standard. It works for me. Divide your bust measurement into 4, then minus 1.5. So I'm copying it now. I'm marking out 0.75 at the half length, then I'm connecting it to my bust point. I'm connecting the lines to my bust point. I'm going to use the under bust tightening here. So I'm connecting the lines to the top length line, that is to the hip point. So now I'm going to replace the measurements, the allowance that I used for that, the other side. So 0.75 into 2 is 1.5. So I'm going to replace it. I have replaced it here. So the next thing I have to do is to carve in the armhole. I'm going to connect it to the chest line. Please, you can make use of your French curve here if you have, but if you don't, you can as well use freehand method like me. So the next thing is to mark out my neck line. The neck width I'm going to use here is 3 inches, and the neck depth is 3 inches as well. And connect the lines. So now, because I'll be using a shoulder dart, I'm going to measure the remaining part of the shoulder and divide it into 2. Then connect the line to the bust point. So I'm just trying to get my half length round measurement. So just checking it out for accuracy, so nothing else. So now over to the underbust for the underbust tightening. I'm going to measure out my underbust measurement and mark it out. So this is where my underbust measurement stopped. Did you see what I did there? So this is where it stopped. So I'm now going to use the remaining allowance there to cup it, to do the underbust tightening. So I have 2 inches extra allowance remaining. So I'm going to mark out ½ inch here, ½ inch. Then the remaining 1.5 inch to the other side. Then I'm going to connect the lines. First of all, if you are doing this one, you don't use straight line. It's going to be a little bit curved. It's not straight, just curve it a little bit. Then if you have your French curve, you can as well use it here to connect the line to the bust point. So, but if you don't have your French curve, first of all, you have to use dot to do it. Then connect the lines after getting the curve that you want. Then when you are done, you can see mine very well here. So when you are done, you have to connect the lines to the hip line. So don't bother if your line went through the other dart, the first dart. Don't bother, don't worry about that. So now we are going to cut it out. So sorry, take a look at this very well. I went up by 2 inches from the blouse length. So I found out that the shape is going to be somehow if I connect the line straight to the main top length. So I went up by 2 inches above. Then I reconnected the lines to the 2 inches. I'm so sorry for that. So let's move on. So I'm going to do the bust dart. I've marked out 2 inches from the bust point. So now I will connect it to the nipple to nipple measurement. So 2 inches from the bust point line down, then connect it to the nipple to nipple measurement at the bust point. Then remember, we are making an off shoulder, so I marked out from the shoulder down, from the shoulder slope down to 3.5 inches, then from the starting point line down to 7 inches. So now I have to check first whether this measurement that I will use will expose my client's cleavages by marking round 4 inches around the place. The 4 inches is my underbust. From my bust point to my underbust is 4 inches. That is for my client's own. Sorry. mark it all around. So I have to go up a little bit. I'm going to use 3 inches here. Then I will connect it to the other one. So if you are making a cloth that will have yoke, this is now your yoke. Is it that you place another plain material that is transparent or plain paper, then transfer it to the plain paper, or you can still cut it out, place it on the fabric that you will use and cut it out. So now I'm doing the overbust tightening. I'm using 0.75 inch for the both side. So I'm connecting the lines to the bust point as well. So blend it. Don't allow it to be pointy. So now when you fold this thing, you will notice that the other part is higher than the center part. So you have to connect the lines as well. Have you seen it? Yeah. So remember that I didn't add any sewing allowance to this pattern. So when you fold this without replacing the allowance, the dot allowance to the armhole, is going to affect the cloth. So the total allowance I have here is 1.5 inches. So I'm replacing it to the armhole. So I will now connect the line down to the chest line. So this is it. So over here I'm going to go up by 1 inch. I'll prefer using 1 inch to be at the server side. Then connect the lines. Then connect it to the neck depth as well. So we are good to go. We'll pleat in that bust dart, but first of all I like cutting out my own before pleating it. See the way I cut it. I will remove my hand to the other part so that it's not going to affect it, because when you fold it, it's going to have another shape, and if you cut out the allowance, the measurement that you have here will no longer be complete. So that's why I like pleating it first before cutting it out. So always remember to follow the second dart line when cutting. The line that we use for underbust tightening, cut it properly. So remember to follow the second line. Then if you are working with